Hi and welcome back to Stewart Gibbs Photography. Now today we're going to be making some soap bubble photography, and these things are absolutely awesome. Once it all comes together and you start photographing these, they look like distant planets in the solar system. They're absolutely incredible, and I'm going to be doing this for some artwork for my son's bedroom, so I'll be printing and framing these. Now we've got everything we need right in front of us to actually make the bubbles, so we're going to cover that first. So to start off with, got a cup of tea. Should always have a cup of tea at hand, ready for doing anything. We have some water, we have some dish soap, we have a jar for mixing that in, we have some glycerin, we have some measuring cups and spoons, and we have some straws and a mug, but we won't need those till later, so I'll put those aside. And last thing we've got is a towel, because I know how this is going to go. I'm going to get wet, as I always do. So to start with, what we want to do is make our bubble solution. I'm going to mix it into here so that I can keep the solution and use it for future projects. So I've got a measuring cup, and we need approximately 3 parts water to 1 part dish soap. So I'm going to grab my water. That's 1. That's 2. It's not quite going to plan. It's going to be 3 parts to 1, but more approximate as I run out of space in my dish. I'll use about half a cup of this then. And we're going to tip that in. Like I said, I didn't judge this very well at all, but I'm sure we'll get some bubble solution out of it anyway. And that's why I wanted a towel. So we've got our glycerin. I bought this from the local supermarket. So we're going to put in around about a tablespoon into the mixture. That's perfect. So we've got 1 tablespoon. Quite thick stuff this. This is going to help hold your bubbles together, so they last a bit longer and make it easier to shoot the bubbles after you've blown them. So we're going to mix all that up. It's quite a thick solution. Superb. Nice bubble mix there. Brilliant. I'm going to move some of these things out of the way. Dry up a little. Right, the reason I've got a mug is we're going to turn that upside down, and we're going to use this as a base for our bubbles. It's got a little recess into the bottom, and we can use that to sit the bubble in so it doesn't just roll off the top. So we're going to grab a little bit of our bubble solution, pour that onto the top of the mug. I'm going to take a straw, I'm going to pop it into the solution, I'm going to blow my bubble, and as the bubble starts to inflate, I'm going to lift the straw and pull it out of the bubble, and hopefully we should have one that lasts for a few seconds. This may take me a couple of attempts, I've not tried this yet. So there we are, we have a bubble, and it should last for a few seconds. That's very good. It's a close one. There we are, perfect. And you can see, well, you can't see at the moment, but you will do when you come to take your photographs. You can see the colours just starting to settle on top of the bubble, and that's looking fantastic. The glycerin's really helping to hold that together. So what we're going to do now is we're going to set up, ready to take some pictures, and I'll do that now. Right, so I've got everything set up ready to go. We'll just run you through the setup that we've got. In the background there, I've got a black sheet. I want a nice dark background for this. You can use pretty much anything. It can be some black cardboard, even a coat, just some material you've got lying around, anything like that. I've got my bubbles all set up in the foreground here, and I've got my camera set up just in front of that on my tripod. Now ideally you're going to want to be using a macro lens, but for the purpose of this I'm just going to use the standard kit lens that came with the camera. And the reason I'm doing that is because not all of you are going to have a macro lens. So I've got this pretty much at the minimum focus distance, and I've zoomed that in, and what I've done to focus everything is I've set it into manual focus, and I've popped my straw just slightly forward of the middle point, and I've focused in on my straw, and that's locked my focus where I want it to be. Now the camera I'm using again is the Fuji X-T20, and I've got the 16 to 50mm kit lens on that, and you'll notice on top that I have a trigger. Now the trigger is to fire my Godox AD200, and you can use any speed light that you like as long as you can fire it off your camera. Now ideally you're going to want a softbox for this. This is going to give you the best light possible. If you don't have a softbox, I will put a link in the description below to a universal one that will fit pretty much any speed light. Again, if you don't have one of those and you don't want to buy one, you could buy something like a 5-in-1 reflector. Now this is the centre of it, which is a shoot through, so that will diffuse the light nicely. What you're going to want to do is hold that above as close as you can to your bubble, and you're going to want your speed light a little bit of a distance from there, so you're not getting a hot spot in the middle, and it'll diffuse your light nicely. But for the purposes of this video, I'm going to use my Godox one. Now I came across a small problem when I was practicing this, that I was blowing the bubbles in the end of the cup. The issue I've had with that is that I'm getting reflections off the bottom of the cup, and it was becoming hard to sort that out. So what I've done is I've had a search, and I've managed to find the end cap off a old Canon lens. So I'm going to use this. You can use pretty much any dark coloured dish that you like, but I found this to solve the problem. So I'm going to place that on top of my cup. Now settings wise, we want as little ambient light coming into this shot as possible. So what I've done is I've set my camera up on ISO 200 at f11 and 160th of a second, and what I've found is without firing the flash my picture is completely black. So then what I've done is I've set my light on quite a low power. It's a 1/64th power, so that is giving me perfect exposure for this shot. Now what we're going to do in a moment is we're going to fill the bubbles up, we're going to blow our bubble, and I'm going to do this all one-handed, using both hands, one to hold this and one to fire the camera. You can put this on a C-stand if you like, but I quite like the movement. Moving it around gives me a slightly different look. So we're going to give that a go. So we're going to fill up our cap on the top using some bubble solution. That's perfect. And we're going to blow some bubbles. Really good tip for you, and I found this out the hard way, is I bought straight straws. Not a great idea. Ideally you're going to want a like a bendy straw. Reason I say that is I went to blow some bubbles and I forgot which side I've been using of the straw, and I keep landing up with mouthfuls of bubble solution, which isn't very nice. Use a bendy straw, you're going to know which end to use each time. I'm going to blow a bubble here. Right, blown a bubble there. Now, which part of the bubble cycle it's on depends on what sort of pattern you get. To start with, you're getting a very swirly pattern within the bubble, and as it starts to settle, getting more of a rainbow effect all the way down. So we're going to want to shoot this through its whole cycle. So again, I'm going to blow a balloon and get ready to shoot some bubble pictures. Bringing it down as low as possible and firing off a few shots. That's awesome. I'm going to check those on the back of the camera. Brilliant. I'm going to zoom that in. And there's some absolutely awesome pictures in there, really lovely and sharp. I'm going to do a few more, and after I've done some more, I will meet you at the computer where we'll run them into Photoshop and we'll do some editing. See you soon. So I've selected an image from all our bubble photographs, and this one I really quite like. It looks like a far distant planet and something quite sci-fi, and so I'm really happy with this one. But there's a lot we can do to make it look a lot better. Now I've shot this one in RAW. RAW gives you a lot more flexibility over your editing. There's a lot more you can do over, say, a JPEG. So I have done this one in RAW, and I would recommend you do the same for the best results. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to look at the white balance. Now I'm really happy with how this has come out of the camera, but you can go through some of the presets. Don't really like that one. Daylight. So you can go through those, or you can use the sliders yourself just to find a point where you really like it. I'm going to stick with mine as it came out of the camera, so I'm going to select as shot. Now the first thing I want to do is adjust my exposure. It's a little bit underexposed. I'm just going to push that up a little bit. That's looking pretty good. And then the next bit, I'm going to come down to my clarity, and I'm going to push my clarity right up. This really helps this picture to pop. So I'm going to go somewhere around about plus 50. And I'm also going to have a look at the vibrance. I'm going to run that up, say round about plus 40. That looks pretty good there. I'm really happy with that. Then I'm going to have a look at the contrast. I'm just going to boost the contrast ever so slightly, not too much for this one. That's looking pretty cool. Now I want to have a look at my highlights. It's quite bright around this edge, so I'm just going to bring my highlights down a touch. That's looking pretty cool. Now I'm going to come across to my detail sliders, and I'm going to sharpen this image quite a bit. I'm going to go to around about +100, and that's looking cool. Photo's coming along really well now. So I'm going to go back to my basic settings, and I'm going to sort the background out. Now I wanted a black background because I want this to appear as though it's in space. I can see a little bit of detail from the background and I want to get rid of that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come up to the shadow clipping warning, and I'm going to click that, and everywhere you see has just appeared in blue is pure black with no detail, and I want a lot of that background to be exactly the same. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come down to my black slider. I'm going to slide it to the left, so sliding it towards the blacks, and that will make a lot of that much darker. Now that hasn't sorted the top out, so I'm going to come up to the top, up to the adjustment brush, and I've already got my exposure set to -4. My shadows I'm going to set to 0. I'm going to use that brush. I'm going to just increase the size just a little bit, and I'm going to paint across the top. You'll see all that is turning pure black as well. I'm just going to switch my clipping warning off, and that's looking quite good. Again, I'm very happy with that. I'm going to click on the hand to bring my basics panel back up, and I'm just going to bring that highlight slider back up a little bit. I think I've gone a little bit too far with it, to around about there. That's looking really good. Really like the colours within this picture. So I'm going to come down to open image, and I click that for it to open up in Photoshop. My image is now opened up in Photoshop, and I'm going to crop this. Now I've got a 8x10 crop selected because I want to print this to an 8x10. I'm going to drag in the corners, and then I'm going to move it into the position I like. That's nice. Again, I'm just going to drag the corners in a little bit. Now I've had to crop quite far on this because I've not used a dedicated macro lens. So you may have to do the same with some of your pictures, but it's not as if I'm printing this absolutely massive. I'm happy, really happy. The colours in this look absolutely amazing. Just decide which side I want to go for and get a few more of those purples in. I'm quite happy with that crop, so I'm going to press the tick, and that will crop that down. I'm going to zoom it in. Now, there's a couple of things I want to do just to finish this image off, and the first one I'm going to do is come to my levels, and I'm going to adjust the blacks by around about between 5 and 10. 5 looks quite good, just gives it a little bit of pop. And I'm just going to bring my whites down. I'm going to drop it by about 5 to 245. Sorry. A little bit too far, so I'm going to make that 250. That's starting to come to shape. I'm going to close that, and I'm just going to come into my vibrance, add a bit more vibrance into the picture. And that looks cool. I'm really happy with that. So I'm going to come down to my layers. I'm going to right click on the bottom layer and come to flatten image, and that's ready to save. So to save, I'm going to come to file, save as, and I'm going to save this as a JPEG. So I'm going to click here into JPEG. Do apologise, that was my open. File, save as. I do that all the time. And again, I'm just going to save that as JPEG, so that's fine. And save. And that's my bubble photo finished. Hope you've had a lot of luck with your photos. Make sure that you subscribe to our channel for future videos, and we'll see you soon. Ta-ta for now.